Well, welcome back. It is Wednesday, so that means it's our regular day. It was great to be here yesterday and do a quick little shout out about the UK tour with the Midnight Devils and talking with Sam Spade last night. But as you can see on our screen right now, today it is time to hang out with my good buddy and bass brother, Timothy Gaines. So let's get to it. What's shaking, Timothy? How are you, man?
Good, Stu. Good to see you, brother.
It is so good to see you too, man.
Right.
We don't get to see each other enough.
No.
But
how long has it been? It's been about a year, I think. I think
yeah.
we did one around last year Christmas time. So
yeah, fortunately we have a call here and there, and that's awesome. And someday I'm gonna make it out there to Arizona because I love it out there.
Yeah. Right now the weather is beautiful.
Oh,
I think we are in the 80s today, so which is a lot better than 118. So we had probably three and a half months of straight 115 plus weather, and it's been it was pretty unbearable. But now we are experiencing the good stuff. So
I spent a lot of years going out there as a kid because my grandparents moved out there. To the Phoenix area, lived in Sun City, and it was the big line is, especially being in Missouri, the big line is, well, it's a dry heat. Does that? But when you're living there, that doesn't hold.
It's a little too dry. It gets warm out here, so we go indoors during the summer, and we don't come out much.
Yeah. You've been there for quite a while now. So
almost, about 7 years now.
What's your favorite season out there?
Probably right now through, it's nice, real nice right now. It's going to get a little cooler. And then springtime, we have a great season for spring. And then of course, summertime is going to be unbearable again. So,
but it's a dry heat.
It is.
I'm going to drive that one until everybody feels better about it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of great memories from being out there, and fortunately, because of my daughter, we have another great, memory later in life, which was not too long ago, and she was working out there and working at I think like Houston's Hillstone, that stuff. She was in the industry of restaurants, and so we saw Foreigner out there, and it was really cool. Had a great visit. So it's beautiful. There's so much.
We get some great concerts out here.
Yes, yeah, you got a lot of you rock stars live out there.
There's a lot of guys that live out here, and at the time, I think it was a great place to settle down because there's a lot of guys that have lived out here and they've grown up here, but property was still fairly cheap.
Well, there you go.
And, right now, it's rather expensive. So we've had a lot of people from the West Coast, California, have moved out, and they've sold their mega mansions in California and moved out here and bought up all the cheap property. So it's getting expensive now.
Now, do you have my one big memory from being out there is not having a lawn. It's all rocks.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I wonder why anybody even has a yard, because it's just rock, gravel everywhere.
Right.
And, and if it's not rocks, then you got dirt. There's a lot of people that have dirt yards, and
of course, I guess
nothing grows.
Yeah, and I guess it's cacti
and cactus, of course. Yeah. So our house here, we have a lot of cactus and palm trees and things like that. But anything that anybody has, from the West Coast, California, of course, has everything green, and because they have to take all the water in from the Colorado River. You guys get everything green out there, of course, and you experience all the seasons, and It depends on what part of Arizona you're at. We could go up to the Prescott area, and
Yeah.
everything's green, and they experience the seasons. They get snow and rain, and right now they're in their fall season, so all the leaves, just like anywhere else in the South or in the Midwest, leaves are coming down, and
Mm.
the different colors. So it's nice.
And how far away is that from you?
Oh, it's about 85, 90 miles or so.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it's kind of wild. I mean, I remember going to one of my biggest memories with my family was going to the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
and when we went out there for Christmas time, and we had families, all three of my brother, both of my brothers and I, we all had families, and we went out to visit our mom, and we went to the Grand Canyon, and I remember I don't think I have been in a colder moment than
Oh,
that.
cold weather up there. Yeah.
Oof,
Well, it's further north, so you're
yeah.
you're up north where there's snow, So,
Mhm.
I've never been there. I've
Really?
flown over it a million times, but I've never actually gone.
No.
It's a big hole in the ground.
The next time we talk, you'll be like, "Yeah, I rode the donkey down," and
Yeah.
like, man, I don't think I could ever. Well, definitely not now. As we get a little older, balance is
Yeah.
not like we don't have balance. Some of us have more balance than others, but it's just the sheer thought of it. If I fall now, the immortalization is gone.
Yeah.
I used to climb up on a roof and go, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we'll jump off the
Now
roof.
I
Yeah.
go up on the roof and I look at that ladder for a few minutes before I go back over to get down.
Yeah,
Like,
I
are we
I get
good?
on a ladder, I get like 3 or 4 steps up on a ladder, and I'm already, getting dizzy, and so it comes with age.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And you're my brother's age, just a couple of years older than me. And so we're real close in that
yeah,
situation. And I'm good getting up there. I just did it to blow the leaves off the roof,
yeah,
speaking of leaves.
yeah.
And I could have shipped them all off for a new Halloween movie. But I should have just shipped them out to California. And going up was just fine. But yeah, coming back, it's like
Yeah,
it's that ladder is a stranger. You just
you
don't
lose that
trust. You're like,
balance.
"You gonna be good? We gonna be cool? We got this?"
Yeah.
So, but it worked out fine. But it does take me a minute, and it's not the same. But yeah, they had that ride where you'd go. Well, it's not a ride. Well, it is a ride. You're on the back of a donkey, and you go down the trail, and those
Down, yeah.
donkeys ride the edge.
I
That's
bet, yeah,
my understanding. That's how
yeah,
they keep side view, and they keep those because that's a lot of girth. So the feet are over here.
right,
They got to keep that side view down the hill so they know where it is.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah, no
little
thanks,
harrowing.
no
Mm-mm.
thanks.
No, thank you either.
No, I'll let somebody else do it.
Oh man. Well, millions of obviously everybody out there, millions know you from because of your history. They know you of your Stormer days, which even though that didn't, you know, uh, have a bunch of recording stuff that happened with it.
Yeah,
And then those millions also know you from your Striper days,
right,
and even more so, people know that follow along with you know about your Breakfast at Tiffany's solo album, and what a great record that is. I was just listening to it today.
thank you. Yeah.
It's being a bass player, I love it. Even more. You're just like,
I'll have to put it on again. I haven't listened to that in a while, so,
yeah, isn't it wild?
yeah.
Things that
We did that in 2009, so it's been a good,
yeah.
how long? 14 years now.
Yeah, right? Just over a decade. How about that?
Yeah,
Almost, well, I won't say
a
that too
while.
much. Oh, wow, almost a decade and a half. Great, Stu, shut up. Yeah. There's a guy I really like watching. Pitch Meeting is his channel, and he's got some catchphrases that he uses in every video, and one of them is like, "Kay, okay, shut up." And when somebody points out something wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, shut up. So, so is there anything thoughts about? I have a lightning round that we'll do, but just are there thoughts about doing another solo record?
I've been, yeah, I've thought about it, and it took just to move 1,000 physical copies. It took me almost 10 years to sell through that. So there's not, point is there's not a huge demand.
Yeah,
And so, but yeah, for the love of doing it and just having fun and, putting something out there. Yeah. Financially, no, it's not that big of a deal. I'm
right,
not looking to make $1 million off of or sell a million
absolutely,
copies, but,
right.
um, putting stuff out there, I right around the time COVID hit, I picked up guitar, and,
Oh,
so that had been I kinda put the bass down, and I've been playing guitar for the last 3 years, and, it's hasn't been until just, maybe the last month or so I picked up the bass again and trying to get my feet wet.
right.
I don't play with my feet, but that might be something I should try. But,
Say
it's like,
it
uh,
depends.
I haven't played in a while, but it came right back. Everything was just, but it's, my hands aren't, as strong as they once were when I played like every day. So, but,
Right.
I'm used to playing. The guitar neck is a little bit smaller, and so now I'm having to stretch my hands again, and, I can feel it, at my age.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah, so, um,
I
yeah,
keep
we may end up doing something. I've just started, doing some more, I've opened myself up again to start doing, session work. So,
Mhm.
um, I'll be doing some more stuff with Aldo, here shortly, and, I'm just gonna kinda do a little bit of everything, and maybe I'll put some of my own music out there and, and just see where it goes.
Yeah. Speaking of Aldo, let's just jump there. You had worked with him uh, on this latest release that he had, or were you working with him on? How did you work with him on that?
The Life and Times of, Eddie Gage, I think I'm on one song on that album.
Okay.
I don't remember, but, um, a lot of that stuff was recorded. So I started working with Aldo at the end of, 2018, and then, we did, the video, for, uh, well, we did that big video up in Toronto.
Yeah, it
My
was.
mind just went blank, but anyways,
I know. I've
so
been there.
then, how it is as we get older, we can't remember things.
I do.
Um,
Well, it just doesn't
I'm
come
a
to us.
survivor. I'm a survivor. There we go.
Yes, I'm a survivor. Yes.
So we did that video, and then, from then on, we just, we kept, of course, COVID hit, and the idea was that we were gonna, hit the road and, start touring, in 2020. And, COVID hit, of course, shut everything down across the nation. So, um, I continued doing other things, and although, just kind of put things on the back burner until I think he put a band together and started touring this year.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, I went, in a different direction and, did another line of work for a while. So I was kind of out of the loop.
Yeah.
But we remained friends, and, during that whole time of COVID, we re-recorded some of his songs and did like live, YouTube videos,
Mhm.
and, uh, just kind of, gave his fans, a taste of things to come, so to say. And, so we did some recordings, and he's been very generous and kind with me as far as sending me work whenever, he needs, I'm kind of the studio bass player guy now.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he sends me work, and I've done work with a lot of other folks, and
Mhm.
off and on, just, sending demos and albums and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um, nothing consistent, but it's, you know, just kept me busy. But my main focus, as I said, has been the guitar for the last 3 years now.
Yeah. Then on, because a lot of that, what people may not know, they may know from our earlier show that we did a while back, but what they may not know is that you were doing a lot of that work with him in Canada.
Well, I did, so we a lot of the stuff that we're doing or that he was doing, I think he may have some work that's still unreleased, but
Yeah.
we were doing stuff online. So I
Oh,
would
yeah,
do,
there you go. Right.
you know,
You
he'd
he
send me
wanted you
tracks.
to come up
I'd
there
play
for
here
you.
at the house, and then I'd send the files back to
That's
him,
cool.
he's kind of a musical genius in that sense where he puts everything together, and that's a lot of people do that nowadays.
Sure.
We did Faith's Edge album, and we did a couple of the Faith's Edge albums, and then we did Gods and Monsters album. We've
Oh,
done
yeah,
all
that's
that
right.
stuff online, and so people are sending tracks back and forth, and a lot of people do that nowadays. I know, and there's guys that I've worked for in Europe, and guys in South America that I've worked for, and
Oh, yeah.
it's file sharing. You send stuff
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forth, and that's kind of how it's done. It's very expensive to get in a studio nowadays with a bunch of people, but um, it's still done. People still go in and do it that way too.
Yeah. Do you have a setup there at your place that you work with, or do you go to somewhere to
Yeah, I have, and I'm in my office. If you
Yeah.
see a slash studio, so if I was to turn my camera a little bit,
Oh, yeah,
that
there you go.
that section over there is my studio, and then uh, I'm kind of set up here for Christmas right now. So we have half of the room is uh, Christmas tree behind me, and all that, or in front of me, and then the rest of the room, I got a piano over here, and then I got my office desk, and I do podcasting from this section here, and then that
Sweet.
section is music. But yeah, so it's kind of a spare bedroom in the house that we've turned into a music room slash podcasting studio, and I have my office here, and I do uh, my work for the church here, and other things. So um, that's
That's
what I do.
awesome.
Kind of a mixture of everything here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I was gonna ask you too about the Aldo stuff. Did he contact you, or did you talk to him? Or like you said, at some point, he put together a band that did the tour because they came through here. I was even gonna talk to you about that. I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
"Oh, hey, Aldo's coming through. I should talk to Timothy about that to see if he could help me, connect with him," but I wasn't gonna we were out of town when they were through here, if you can even
Right.
believe it. The one time that Aldo Nova comes back through St. Louis, I'm out of town.
Oh, well, he'll probably be back. I know he's
Yeah,
still. I think he's still on the road. I
yeah,
think
I
he has
hope so.
some other dates coming up, but I think he was just getting things back together, and he put this band together,
Mhm.
uh, they're touring, and I think they're doing what most groups do nowadays is do flight dates and doing festivals and things like that.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm grateful for him. Yeah, no, and so you asked how that came about, I think, and
yeah,
it really happened because of Facebook, and of all things.
yeah.
I came through his people you might know list, and he didn't know who I was. He saw a picture of me playing bass on Facebook,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he was looking for a bass player at the time for the, I don't know, for touring and stuff, and so he clicked on my picture and started seeing stuff that I had been doing, and he messaged me, and
Wow.
he said, "Hey, this is Aldo," and I'm like, "Yeah, right."
I know I was gonna ask you that. Was
Like, yeah, right. Aldo knows gonna message me, but no, he did, and I was like, "Wow." So he asked me if I could send him some stuff that I had recorded, and
Mhm.
some videos of me performing. So I sent him some Striper stuff, and then I sent him some of my solo uh,
Yeah, I was
material, and so anyways, we hit it off, and we became good friends, and I think that's more than anything. He's a good guy. He's a good-hearted guy,
it
very
always seemed like
talented,
it, yeah.
very talented. I mean, genius guitar player. He's just, he has that feeling on guitar that a lot of guys don't have. He's very smooth and melodic in his playing, and then a lot of his stuff's really hard too. I mean, a lot of scales and stuff. You being a bass player,
Yeah,
you could appreciate, playing a lot of fast chromatic scales and things like that. And it's like it gives you a workout. So,
yeah,
um, but he's producer and songwriter, and Grammy winning artist, and he's played and worked with some of the best in the industry, and so it's very humbling to be able to do that and to be able to work with somebody on his level. And at any rate, he's a good guy. We hit it off, and we've been friends even when I was not working with him, and he was doing stuff with the guys in the band, and we still remain, in communication. And so, yeah, all around good guy.
Man. Yeah. Cause I don't know if many people have gone, well, that millions of people have gone further than that first record, of his. That's a fantastic record. And if nobody's ever heard of Coney Hatch, get out there and check out Coney Hatch, because they did a version of Hey Operator, and another great Canadian band to check out. And I don't know how many people went further. Of course, he had, Monkey on My Back was a track that was on the Subject Aldo Nova, the second record, and was on MTV. And then Twitch kind of got lost. We had a single for it, which I have, when I worked on the radio station in '86. And I was like, ooh, a new Aldo Nova song, Rumors of You. And I think I have that because it didn't become a hit. And I was like, yes, please, I'll take that, and then to have worked with, I think he worked with, did he produce it? John Bon Jovi. He worked with John Bon Jovi on Blood on the Bricks.
And I don't know the story behind all that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people you wonder. And then Blue Oyster Cult. He worked, co-wrote and played on Take Me Away, which was on A Revolution by Night.
Wow.
Which is
you know more than me.
Well, you know the song. I know you know the song. But they had a video for it on MTV, but what a great song. And it is, you'll love it when you get reintroduced to it. It's just so Aldo Nova. It's just, it was great to have that coupled with one of my favorite bands, it was like when Ken Hensley joined up with Blackfoot, and you're like,
oh yeah.
And then when he did it again with Wasp, I was like, oh, that's my guy. That's Ken Hensley,
Yeah. Oh, what a loss too. We just lost him not too long ago.
Right. So. Yeah, that was too bad. And I'll tell you, it was weird. I live not far from where he used to live. And I went to his house one time. We chatted a little bit about an interview and stuff. And then as soon as I moved near him, that's unfortunate, but he and his wife split, and then he went back home to Europe, and then he was on tour with John Lawton doing the Uriah Heep, maybe probably some Lucifer's Friend stuff over in Spain. So it was kind of wild.
My time with Ken was spent when he was with St. Louis Music.
That's it.
In the 80s. And so my whole Ampeg endorsement was because of him. And it was grateful. I remember whatever we did to work out the deal, I can't remember, but I was living in California, and I lived on a cul-de-sac, a dead end street.
Yeah.
And we had a semi rig with had to back down because they couldn't turn around. So they had they delivered my gear, which was 8 SBT cabinets.
Oh yeah, buddy.
And 4 SBT heads. But the only way they could get in was to back this giant trailer down the street and deliver this stuff to my house. And then from then trying to get it to where we rehearsed. But so
did you
that whole period from end of To Hell with the Devil through In God We Trust, and then on all, I had 8 live SBT cabinets on stage. They were powered by 4 SBT heads,
which are beautiful. Those are, at least they used to be. I mean, I'm sure that they're back. I'm sure that they're back in to where they should be. I mean, for a while, I used to work for St. Louis Music. I worked there for their last 3 years, and then we were purchased by Loud, and then that all just went to the wayside. But
Right. That's right. I remember.
then they started shipping things off to Vietnam to get made, and you're like,
Mhm.
I'm like, you're gonna lose endorsers like that. That's pretty easy, to start doing things like that, and the geniuses that they let go out of that company were just
Really?
crazy.
Wow.
I mean, people that put all that stuff together, they figured it all out, but great stuff.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
man,
yeah, I used the Ampeg stuff from,
wow.
gosh, it must have been, I think it was around 87 up through the early 90s, and
Yeah.
then it's like when Stryper broke up for
Mhm.
that period in the 90s, it's like I had all this gear sitting in my garage, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just started I discovered, a friend of mine who's a bass player, Jamie Hunting,
Mhm.
he turned me on to SWR, which was still fairly new at the time.
Right.
And so I started using SWR gear, and I was like trading in these giant refrigerator cabinets in for little 410s. And I still have some of my SWR gear from way back then
Really?
that I use. I have a little 112 cabinet that I record out of a lot. If I'm going to mic something up, I'll use this little 112 cabinet. I've had it since like 93.
Wow.
And then I use SWR. I got a bass, what's it called? A bass 750X, 750 watt head with some distortion. It has
Wow.
some stuff built into it, some effects built into it. And then I use an 8x8 cabinet.
Mhm.
Get the name of it. It's a little 8-inch speakers.
Right.
It's like a little mini SVT cabinet. So that's if I'm going to play a loud show, which is very rare, that's the gear that I'll use. And then most of the stuff, if I'm playing out now, is provided, backline from a
True.
promoter. So, and I
Right.
usually request SVTs. There was a short period though, when I got back into Stryper in 2009, we were going on the road at that time, and I needed some gear. I didn't have any gear at the time, touring gear, and so I had been given a prototype by Line 6.
Mm.
They had these prototype. What, I can't remember my brain. Sorry, Line 6. I can't remember the name, but
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's
they
not
gave me all
me.
this gear for they gave me this one head as a prototype to test out, and I I gave them my opinion, and they let me keep the head. And then when it came time to tour, I
Mm.
was looking for a company to sponsor me on tour, and so Line 6 came through, and they gave me two other heads, and then they gave me like 8 410 cabinets and
Wow.
all this gear. So they were like really good to me at that point, and
Wow.
still are. They're still good people, and
Yeah. Yeah, I
still have
remember
Line 6 gear to this day that I'm still
yeah.
using. So
Yeah, I remember seeing a lot of their stuff at, like, the NAMM show, and, it seems to me somebody I knew was using some of the Line 6 stuff um, and really digging it. They were really doing some really cool, innovative combo stuff back in the day when
yeah,
I was working
that amp modeling stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they had a lot of really cool stuff because we would look at so much stuff to do research, and we'd go to the NAMM show, and we'd have to go to the different booths and check it all out,
yeah.
and
When I got done with that tour, I started getting back into Ampeg again.
mhm.
Excuse me. So I ended up buying a couple of Ampeg cabinets just to have some SVTs, and I gave I kept some of the gear, and I brought it out here to Arizona with me from Nashville. But I think 4 of the cabinets I ended up giving away to some of the different clubs down on Lower Broadway in Nashville. Um,
Nice.
they're always the guys. I belong to a group called the Nashville Bass Hang, which is all
Mm,
the pro players in Nashville that are
wow.
and working bass players. And so there is always on this Facebook group called the Nashville Bass Hang. The guys are always saying, the gear at the clubs down on Lower Broadway is junk. They don't have cabinets, or they don't have heads or whatever.
Right.
So I ended up donating several of my cabinets so the guys would have something to play through. And I
Sweet.
think some of them had they were striped with yellow and black stripes. And I was like, whether Whether they
That's
painted over them or not, I don't know, and whether the stuff's still there, some of the gear still may be in Nashville for all I know.
oh shoot, that's
It
great.
got it got use after I was done with it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I was, I still look at those 810 cabs and I'm like, boy, I think I'd sure
Yeah.
like to have one, but
Yeah, I don't wanna move it.
it's not practical for me and what I
Yeah.
do. If ever there was a day that I would have ever gone on tour and had somebody to move that, but
Yeah. Yeah. The only
yeah.
thing I got left from Ampeg now, I have a B-15 cabinet. I don't even have the head for it, but,
Mm,
the little flip top 15, and, um, I'm still looking for an amp for that thing, but I don't really use amps too much anymore. I mean, as far
yeah.
as, I don't take stuff with me. I don't play, when I do play out live, it's usually provided, like I said. So,
Hmm.
and then here in the studio, it's just everything I do is direct now. And my
Yeah.
recording rig is really just I go into a Sans amp bass
Mhm.
DI into a little compression pedal, and then from there right into the mixer, and
Yeah.
that's it. You don't need a lot nowadays.
No, but you're gonna come that day where somebody's gonna go, "Oh yeah, man, I went, you know, completely analog, and I had this speaker in this room, and
Yeah, yeah.
it had a crap speaker in it, so I used it, and we just cranked it, and there's all
Yeah,
those
there's
little
always that magical tone that somebody gets,
right,
and it's like they wanna know how they get people ask me all the time, "What kind of gear do I use?" And it's like, I don't.
you're
There's
like
not really,
whatever's in
I
the
use a
house.
P bass and a jazz bass
Yeah,
and a Stingray, and that's pretty much what I use for recording, depending upon what kind of sound I'm looking for. In fact,
you
I picked up an old GNL
oh yeah,
SB1,
yeah,
uh, in '85, and just so I have a P bass with I could put flat wounds on,
right,
and so I have that one with flats, and then I have another one the one hanging up behind me over in the corners,
yeah.
got round wounds, and then, that's pretty much it.
Then you
All the
have
striker gear is gone.
do you have multiple fretless or just one fretless
I just
or
have my one fretless, which is a Music Man Stingray, 79 Stingray neck on a early 70 or mid 70s jazz body.
wow,
And I had the body, and there was all parts I had laying around, and I put it together, and it actually worked great. And
wow, yeah.
it's one of the best fretless basses that I've ever played. And of course, I'm no Tony Franklin or anything like that, but
Oh, I know, but
uh,
man, it's
you know,
you know,
throughout
it's
the '90s, that's all I played. That was all I played was fretless bass.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
I don't pick it up too much, but
We got Saboteurs with us. Saboteur is one of my regular guests, and we know each other from our my other show, Go Game Go, and also this is Blake, Stu, Tim, former soldier under command,
right
just
on.
got back from a day in hell, literally. Wow, really? How was hell? I were they snowballing today or bodies? Oh, walking for 2.5 hours.
I see them now. I was on private chat for some reason, so now
Oh, I
I'm on
get
the
you.
comments. There we
I've
go.
done that.
Thanks.
I've done stuff like that myself.
So,
But
hey, guys, good to see you.
anybody has any questions, just let us know. In fact, I'll tell you what, that's what I was doing. I was telling Timothy about my new turntable. This is a Season Life. I guess that makes them our unofficial sponsor for the day, right? And
Yeah.
and I had to put on the first album that I had with you, and
Oh,
and nice signatures.
well, we had them signed.
Yeah,
Or you had them signed.
I try not to bring too much each time, but just a little something every time, and then you're like, uh, but still,
Awesome.
what remains what remains your favorite release from those years?
From the early years,
Mhm.
probably Still Against the Law.
I was I
Uh,
I had a feeling you would say that.
yeah.
It just
Yeah,
was different. It was
it was different. It was more of a group effort, if you wanna call it that. I
there
mean,
you go.
um that the first two albums too. You know, I didn't play on To Hell or In God We Trust. That was studio guys.
Wow.
But so those two albums I didn't work on. I
Okay.
was there, but I didn't. For In God We Trust, I was there. I was in the studio with everyone daily. But that the same guy, Brad Cobb, played on To Hell, and he also played on In God We Trust.
Wow.
And
what drove that decision? If you don't mind, I don't.
Band politics.
Okay.
You know, it was more or less they wanted something done quickly, and I never even heard the To Hell stuff. They told me you weren't going to play on the album, and I said, "Well, you know, screw you guys. I'm out of the band." So I was out of the band for like a month, and they got another guy in, Matt Urich, and then he didn't end up recording on the album either. They got a studio guy that came in and did it. And then when it came time for doing shows and stuff, they were having an issue with doing background vocals. And during this time in the studio, I'd kept in contact with Oz the whole time, and it's letting me know how things were going. And I think I had been working. I think I got a job at Guitar Center.
Oh,
I was like, you know, and you got to think at this point, and this was been 86. We had done the first EP, which was like, you know, we did some touring with that in 84, and then 85 we ended up going to Japan.
Yeah.
And then we had been recording while we were in Japan. We were still in the process of recording Soldiers Under Command.
Yeah.
And so that album wasn't even finished then. We did Japan, and then we came back and we did the tour in 85 for Soldiers. And then it was just, you know, there was a weird politics going on within the band even then.
Is I have to, again, I don't want to get into anywhere you don't want to talk about, but is that partially, Timothy, because what I want to do is just, I want to shine a good, inclusive, you know.
Sure.
Could it have been also because of the pressures of whatever comes when you're being a Christian metal band in a hair metal debauchery kind of atmosphere where everything is so looked at? And do you think there was
under the microscope?
Do you think that lends itself to pushing that kind of a stress?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's you're always under that microscope. I don't think that played into anything with me not being on that album at that point, but it was more same kind of stuff that went on towards the end before I was out of the band in 2016. So I mean, just inner struggles within the band, between band members, and it was, you know, so when I say that, it was, you know, more along those lines. You know,
bands are tough, man. It's
a
not
marriage,
easy.
you know. Sometimes you just don't get along, and so
you work well together. You can do the work, but the other stuff just
right.
And sometimes that gets in the way of the work. You know, it's a weird.
So those two albums, you know, a lot of people know about it already anyways, that I was out of the band during that period, but I wasn't out for that long of a period of time. I was, you know, it was more a matter of weeks than a matter of months or anything like that. And so, you know, we all made up. I got back in the band and learned everything for the tour. We went into rehearsals. Actually, they were already rehearsing with the other bass player, and it wasn't working out with him vocal wise. So they called me up and asked me if I'd consider rejoining the band, which I did. And we did, I think, 2 days of rehearsal, and then it was like we were on the road from there.
Yeah.
And so
we singing bass players are a hot commodity.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know,
Well,
if you can play and you play bass, you'd always have work and, you know, I guess that's
yeah,
true in a sense, and then if you sing and play bass, or if you
right.
sing lead and play bass. I'm not a lead singer, but
That's what I do.
can sing backups. Well, that's great.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I still struggle singing backups if it's a counter melody, or the melody counters what I'm playing on bass, the bass line usually goes against what you're singing, so,
Yep.
like, your left, right brain kinda
Yes.
thing doesn't work. I always
Yes.
struggled with that. But,
Hmm.
you know, so getting back to the favorite album was Against the Law because I actually got to play on it, and it was a band effort, whereas the other 2 prior albums were, it was kinda like, the songs were written and then the studio was done. Everything was kinda learned in the studio. There was really no band rehearsal. It was just like everybody went in and kinda learned the song in the studio, and that was it. And so when Against the Law came, we finished, the In God We Trust tour. We really bonded on that tour as a band towards the end because we were under so much pressure because the band had taken off and had become very popular. So we were kind of like under this, like what we were talking about earlier, as this microscope, you know, where everybody, this Christian
Yep.
microscope, where everybody's judging and putting you to the test in that sense. And so,
And doing exactly what they're asked not to do.
well,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
right,
saying? You know what I'm saying? Judge
yeah.
not, you
Well,
know?
yeah. I mean, and I can understand because, you know, it was something at that point that was so new,
Mhm.
you know, people are very leery of, especially nowadays. I mean, you look at the music scene today compared to how it was in the 80s,
Yeah,
35 years ago. It was like 40 years ago. Things have changed
yeah.
a lot, and there's a lot more accepted within the Christian, excuse me, the Christian
Right.
market today than there would have been, you know, 40 years ago.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
know, so anyways, I got to play, and we went into the studio and rehearsed as a band for like 8 months, and we wrote the songs together as a band. And so when I got
Mhm.
to play on the album, and it was all me, it wasn't anything that was like the studio guy making up, and then I had to copy what he was playing, you know. So
Right.
that's pretty much why that's my favorite, and the bonding of the band, we just seemed to bond at that point.
Yeah,
And then
that really that's a great driving force when you just feel good about it. You feel good about, those with whom you're playing, and you're just,
yeah, yeah.
it's a
I was
team
like
effort.
before, it's like you know, we would get along. I mean, but there wasn't really that bond. You know, the brothers, Mike and Robert, were, you know, they grew up together. They're brothers, and then they went
Yeah.
to school with Oz, and I was always kind of the outsider that came in. But you know, during that period, it seemed like we all just kind of bonded together as a
Mhm.
group, and like a gang in a sense. You know, I was always
Right,
kind of jealous, you know, in that sense of some of these other bands. It's like, well, those guys are like a gang. They'd stand up for each other, and it's like
right.
we're not doing that, you know. It's like, so, you
Yeah.
know, at that point we bonded, and unfortunately, that was right around the time that the music scene had changed.
Mhm.
Remember Seattle and grunge started becoming popular, and
Yeah.
everybody was growing facial hair back then. So it's like, you know, that look, you know, the Guns N' Roses and all that stuff was that whole thing was kind of changing from the big hair and the makeup and
Mhm.
stuff, which I hated anyways. Um,
Oh, I can imagine. I couldn't even I could not even imagine.
yeah,
Uh, that
that
would
was the look, you know. It was like
it
that was
was.
the look back then.
It was. And
Um,
MTV, and I mean, everything.
right.
You had to make a statement every time you got on, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
if you don't have something new for this next one, and,
Yeah.
that's why To Hell with the Devil, where you got all the different personality, things, Timekeeper and this,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know, this kind of thing, and Oz with the costume with the tubes
Awesome.
and the, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and, it just was wild, and it was the In God We Trust tours where you and I first met,
Yeah.
was here at the Fox. I interviewed, Michael at the Fox, and it was one of the worst interviews I've ever done.
Really?
Timothy, I wouldn't shut up. I just,
You
I
were
know all this
excited.
stuff, and so there was this, and this, and then blah. And then he'd go blah, 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 blah. And I go, right. So then you did,
Yeah. Change it, cut him off and change the subject. Yeah.
stupid. It was more like he was interviewing me about him. I listened to the table. I'm like, shut up. Just
Well,
hand him
you've
paper.
come a long way, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what we haven't even done? And let's take a moment to do that. We'll take a quick break here. Let's get back into some of this here in a minute, but we haven't done our lightning round. This is a holiday lightning round, so I wish I had some jingle bells here. But what are you, first of all, are you into Christmas movies?
Not so much lately, but I used to like the old ones,
Good. So what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Probably It's a Wonderful Life
Mm.
or Miracle on 34th Street, one of the either or. I used to watch those back to back. Excuse me. And then probably lately it's like Christmas Story, it's like you're gonna shoot your eye out, that stuff, that was always one of the more modern ones. As a kid, we always liked the stuff that came out like Rudolph and all that stuff, the claymation stuff. Or
I think it came, you know what? I'm glad we mentioned this and that you said that because it came out in 1964.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
It was shown today back in 1964.
It was Rudolph. Right. Yeah.
How about that?
I remember
crazy. My friend,
as a kid.
I wouldn't have remembered that, but my buddy told me that today.
Yeah.
That was his fact of the day. So, yeah. The year I was born, I had just been born when it came out.
I was probably about a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Because
it was about a year. No, I was born in December of 62. So I was about a year old.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Favorite Christmas pop or rock song?
Christmas pop or rock.
Because there came all of those, like Twisted Sister had a Christmas.
Right. I never got into any of that
Christmas
stuff.
album.
I was into, I think the probably the most modern, and this goes back to the 90s, was Mariah Carey.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, before that, it was like I grew up listening to Andy Williams and all those Barbra Streisand Christmas and all those things. So it's like those were always the Christmas albums that were played in my house.
Yeah, the Conniff singers.
Yeah.
Ray Conniff and the Conniff singers. Yeah. Roger Williams. How about that one?
Yeah. Roger Williams. That was all my parents' stuff.
Yeah. Like if I throw a couple at you, you might go, oh yeah, that's a good one. Like there's Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. There's the Tom Petty tune that was in Home Alone. There's the Paul McCartney Christmas Time. I even have what's the one that Stryper did that I have on the collection?
Oh yeah, we did
We Three Kings. It's not that. What was it?
Winter Wonderland.
Is that what it was?
Winter Wonderland, and then we did on the other side, we did 2 Christmas songs, and we did Reason for the Season was the one we wrote.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Did you do Oh Come All Ye Faithful?
No, I think Michael ended up doing that.
Okay, Michael did it.
That was on his own. Yeah.
Okay. Because I think it's touted as Stryper on the collection that I picked up some collection one year. We're on a trip and I'm at a Walgreens or whatever and I'm flipping through.
It could have been. It was probably something else I didn't plan on.
But you know who did We Three Kings? I was chuckling at the moment when I said it. I'm like, no, that wasn't it. It was Spinal Tap.
Oh wow, yeah.
They did
I've got it's in the other room. I've got like the Metal Christmas came out probably in the early to mid 2000s, but all the Metal Christmas guys did different songs, and I got that in the back room. I gotta pull that out.
I'll have to check into that. I'll have to see about what's on there. Because I think Gary Hoey just brought his Christmas show through yesterday. He was over just across the river in Edwardsville, doing the the ho ho hoey thing.
Yeah.
And but so Wonderful Christmas Time is one of my favorites, I think. But of course, Band-Aid, Do They Know It's Christmas?
Yeah.
Another great one.
Yeah.
Here you go. Fruitcake.
Fruitcake.
Good, or possibly a slight
Reuse it every year. The same one. No, I
right by the door.
yeah, it makes a doorstop. Yeah, good doorstop.
The door's open. Who's got the
Yeah,
fruitcake? Somebody
yeah,
moved the fruitcake. It closed. What's going
right.
on? And then what is so no on the fruitcake?
No.
Favorite Christmas. What's a favorite Christmas childhood memory?
Oh boy.
Was it a
Yeah.
year that you got a certain something, or was it a year that you went somewhere?
I
Or
just, man, I remember that was always just the best time as a
of the year?
child growing up
Yeah.
until I got older. Then, it wasn't, as a kid, it's always that magical Christmas time, and getting gifts and,
Mhm.
my birthday is in December. So it was always like,
Oh,
well, you want one big gift or two little ones, that so
you're
it's
like,
like,
well, how little?
yeah, how little, but I was spoiled, so I always got what I wanted anyway.
Oh, well, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. I mean, I can't say that I was. I mean, I have favorite childhood memories of one of mine. I think was the year I got a Marvel book. It was it's called the Origins of Marvel Superheroes,
Oh, the
and
superheroes, yeah.
it was hardback bound. I still have it. It's right
Yeah,
over there.
awesome.
And I just, oh man, and getting new GI Joe stuff. You
Yeah,
know.
I just all that stuff, the memories from our
Mhm,
childhood, and
mhm.
I think, now that I'm thinking about it, probably the gift that I got that, it was one of those combination birthday Christmas presents, but it was my 14th birthday. My parents got me my very first bass, real bass, because I'd been playing that year prior on a
Yeah,
classical guitar. I took the top two strings off, and that was my bass until I like really showed and proved that I was into playing,
yeah.
bass. And so my parents, that was for my 14th
Wow.
birthday. So
And what kind was it?
it was an Orlando, which is a Japanese it was a copy of a P bass.
I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. My first bass all those years ago, 20 some years ago, was a P bass. It was white because I was going to play at
Yeah.
church. And
Yeah.
she's actually sitting right there, and I've made her fretless now, but I don't play it because it's autographed,
Oh,
which
wow.
I don't think I have your signature on there, so I know it's coming with me when we do that.
Yeah.
And the last question is, would you ever give a dog or a cat as a Christmas gift under the tree? How strange is that?
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. I
Uh,
don't even explain it.
yeah, I don't know if I would today, but maybe uh, back in the day I would. I remember I got a bird for Christmas. So I had a little
Really?
parakeet that I got for Christmas one year,
How'd they
and I had that
present that
bird for
to you? How'd they present that to you? Was it under the tree, or
It
was it?
was it was in the cage, so they brought it out. I don't know where they kept it uh, before Christmas morning, but they the cage was there with a bow around it, and
Wow.
right next to the tree, and a little parakeet,
What was
blue
its name?
parakeet, Tweety.
There you go.
I named him Tweety. I don't know
Plain
how
and
old I
simple.
was. I was young. I was still, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, maybe
Oh,
7,
yeah.
8, 9, somewhere in there. I can't
Oh, yeah.
remember, but
Yeah.
um, I had him for about 7 years, and then one day I thought, well, he always rested on my shoulder, on my head,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we had him out of the cage all the time in the house. And one day I thought, well, it'd be cool to take Tweety outside with me.
Oh,
And that was, second
yeah.
the door open, he was like gone, and
See ya.
I was devastated. I
Love
didn't
you.
think yeah, I thought he loved me, but he wanted free. So
Well, maybe that was the love. See, maybe as he flew off, he's like, "Boy, you really do love me."
yeah,
Whatever helps us sleep at night, right?
yeah, exactly.
So then at 14, you got that first base. When was it that you decided that you wanted to do something with that as a career?
Yeah, probably even before that. I was just
Hell yeah.
13, 12, 13. I started playing guitar around 12,
Okay.
and then 13. So it wasn't like serious playing. It was just like my sisters had guitars, and I decided I was gonna try to learn. And my younger brother, also played guitar. So there was guitars in the house, but
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna play bass. I don't know where I could hear it, I could feel it.
Yeah.
And when I tried playing, because I took classical guitar lessons, and so there's a
Hmm.
lot of scales and stuff with that involved
Yeah.
with that. But I always heard the bass. And so
Mhm.
I think I've told you before, I was a big fan of Elton John, and his
Mhm.
bass player was Dee Murray. Dee
Yes.
Murray and Nigel Wilson were like my heroes, at a young age, and I could hear that
Mm.
rhythm section. I just kind of felt it.
Yeah.
So that's, my inspiration, I guess, as a young kid to try to learn bass. And then, like I said, throughout that year, I was 13 years old trying to play bass and on a classical guitar. And my parents, took notice and got me my bass. So
That's pretty cool. That's
yeah.
pretty we grew up, I mean, there are still amazing bass players that are out there. I mean, you
Oh yeah.
became one of those who were a driving force with, the bass in that field, and it was, there we grew up with a lot of great stuff, in '76, that first Boston album,
Oh
and
man.
some great boogie, bass lines in that, amongst all that
Oh
great
yeah.
rock and roll. Um, and no matter what people say about Gene Simmons, always had some great boogie lines going on in all of those hit tunes and
Yeah.
stuff, and just some, and then all the others you know, that were great
Yeah.
within
It
the
was,
jazz world too.
gosh, and I had a huge jazz influence as a kid, through my family. I
Mm,
didn't appreciate it at the time. That didn't even come until later on, like the later 80s and into the 90s is when I got into Jocko, which,
mm,
I had the album in the 70s, and that came out in 76. I don't know when I got it, but I had it like early on,
mm,
but I didn't really appreciate what it was. Of course, I had family members. My sisters would give me, pop music, or
mm.
I guess what you would call pop music, with like
Yeah,
Doobie Brothers and
yeah.
Steely Dan. I guess it's pop.
It
But I had
depends. I
that
mean,
influence.
yeah.
Um, but of course, at 14, 15, you're into bands that, rock bands, and I was into like Aerosmith and Queen uh, Foghat,
Deep
Craig
Purple.
McGregor, the bass player for Foghat. I later became friends with him, but he
Wow.
was a huge influence on me. That Foghat live album was just like, wow,
Yeah.
great bass lines. And then later on in the early 80s, maybe the late 70s, I can't remember, but remember Joe Jackson?
Oh, dude,
Um,
just said it yesterday.
he did an album called Jump and Jive, which was all
Oh,
big band.
God.
And the bass player, Graham Maybe was his name. Oh my gosh, it was just like, wow, swing bass, and it was
Oh,
like that just started to change everything for me as far as like
yeah.
I'm going with rock music to jazz,
Mm,
and I just felt swing bass like came naturally for me, and walking bass lines and all that stuff. So
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
kind of where I was, kind of
Yeah.
turned me on into early on into a melodic bass player.
That just that it kills me that you say that, about him, and, I just love it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I remember when well, we just talked about it yesterday. I was just talking about David Kirschenbaum's production on Look Sharp and the bass
Mm,
player's picking abilities and that
yeah,
beautiful way that they captured it on that record. But then before anybody heard that next big hit of his, he put out 2 of those albums that were like swing albums, and,
yeah,
I didn't even realize that came out, Jumpin' Jack. I didn't know it. My buddy put it
yeah.
on at his house, and I go, "What is that?"
Gosh, I think that came out around 1980,
Yes. Yeah,
79, 80, somewhere in there.
yeah.
I know because I was in a band called Afton Kid, and I was the drummer of that band. He had the album and he turned me on to it. And so I was like,
Oh,
wow, this is great. So
Yeah, we had a couple of great friends, I'll tell you, because my buddy who was playing it for me, I was like, "Dude, what is that?" He showed it to me. I'm like, "When did this happen?"
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And then
Well, he toured for that, and I remember people were like walking out and booing because they wanted to hear like "Look Sharp"
right.
and
And
Sunday Papers and all that stuff.
yes, right.
Um,
Yeah.
Another great jazz, Gino Vanelli. I remember Gino Vanelli
Mhm.
did an album called Storm in Sun Up or something. I can't remember.
Right.
And I thought, anyways, it was like great. Again, walking bass lines, but it was all keyboard. I'm
Oh, yeah.
thinking like there's a bass player playing this, and it was all somebody doing left hand on a keyboard. But
Kinda
you
like
know,
The Doors, right? That
yeah.
feel.
But I mean, it was like walking, like fast jazz bass
Wow.
lines, swing bass, and anyways, so
Just
good
trying to
to
see if I can
remember.
find that one. I'm gonna see what, see if we can find what the name of that one was for sure. Um, he's got an official website. We should get him on the show. You and I can talk to him, and we'll hang out and talk to Gino Vanelli.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. That would be great. But
He's another Canadian guy. I think he's Canadian.
yeah, I think that's right. I think that's what I was reading. The only other thing about the Joe Jackson thing that I thought about too was how did A&M ever say that was okay to do?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's what threw me when
Creative
I
license, maybe. He
yeah, I
may have
guess.
had something in his contract with a certain amount of albums needed to be put out, and
Yeah.
he took creative license, or who knows? That first album, the Sunday It Looked Sharp, with Sunday Paper and stuff.
Mhm.
Was a sophomore or whatever debut album. Um, did he do another one
Yeah, he
after
had
that?
I'm the Man.
I'm the Man. That's right. That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So
Which I always mix those up. I always got which one came first,
yeah,
mixed up and no. And then what was the other one that he had? I got it back here. I could almost grab it. But he had
yeah. If
the
I
other
had my
one that
door open here, I'd be able to walk
he
in
had
and
the
grab
other
them right
one.
now.
I'll tell you what, I'll do it. Here, let's just do this. Let's do this.
Oh yeah, you got about as many as me.
Let's have a little fun here. So
I've got about 2,000 in my record and CD collection.
I wonder if that's what I have. I don't know if I have that many. Joel Jackson comes before that. Jay Giles. All right, let's see what we got here. Billy Joel, Joe Perry, Jigsaw. There's one for you.
Oh wow,
That's
wow.
nothing like that. That's good. That's good stuff. Jethro Tull. Oh, come on, Stuart. Jefferson. Rick James. Look out. Now it's getting dangerous.
Which
There it is.
which Toll stuff do you have?
I just got one recently, which I was thrilled about because it's my favorite Jethro Tull album. Oh, here's one. These guys. Okay, wait. When I met you,
Yeah,
this is who opened for you. Are you ready?
Jet Boy. Wow,
That's who opened.
that was the last part of In God Do We Trust, the second
Yeah,
half. So we had
yeah.
White Lion on the first half, and then Jet Boy, I think, on the last.
Jet Boy. This is the one this is my favorite Jethro Tull.
Songs of the Wood. I
I
have that
love
one.
it.
That's a great song too. Songs of the
It
Wood.
is. It
Yeah,
is. The Whistler was the big song they played on the radio.
yeah.
But I have Stormwatch. I've got the best of, the white ones that they put out, volume 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And
Well, the
then
reason I mentioned because his bass player at that time, the early stuff,
oh yeah.
Glenn Cornick, I think
Yes.
his name was. The guy's a monster bass player.
Oh, just killer stuff. Just Hunting Girl is one of my other favorite tunes of theirs.
Yeah.
Highborn Hunting Girl. I just love it because of the storyline. He sleeps with her and he goes, I'm nobody special.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? So Look Sharp, of course.
There you go. Yeah.
And then was I'm the Man.
Right. Okay.
But then this is the other one. Have you heard this one? Beat Crazy. I always forget the name of it.
Beat Crazy.
Yeah. So this one came
Oh,
out.
Jackson.
around that same time as Jumpin'
Okay.
Jive.
I'm gonna have to get that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Um,
listen to that one.
and it's God, I can't. It's bad enough that my eyesight doesn't allow me, but then it's worse when it's dark blue on black. Yeah, 1980.
Okay.
So
I
he
didn't
did.
know about
I
that
do
one.
believe this came first, and then he did Jump and Jive. Then did why can't I say the name of the album that Steppin' Out is on?
Oh, yeah.
It's Night and Day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
That
like,
was a great song too.
it was a great song.
Yeah.
Was a great. I'd love to have that on vinyl.
Yeah, I
Night
do.
and Day.
I have it.
Ah, so yeah,
I have
we'll
to go
talk
through
about
my
that.
vinyl and pull stuff out because I've got so much like yours is stacked behind you. I very rarely pull them out. I would say so when I'm buying albums, I'm buying stuff used online a lot lately.
Mhm.
Now that it's finally cooled off where I can
Right.
actually buy vinyl albums, so
Yeah, true.
they don't melt before I get
No,
them.
I know, right? It's like ordering chocolate.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
It's
when I lived in Nashville, I would buy vinyl albums online,
yeah.
and probably 8 times out of 10, they'd end up broken. Like
Oh,
the post office, the guy, delivering or somewhere, he would I had one that was a rare 45 that I got. It was from the 50s. It was, boring radio documentary stuff on vinyl, but it was like a one of a kind album or 45, and the guy broke it in half, like in the box. You know how you get the
oh
boxes
my
that the albums come in. He
yeah.
actually took it and folded it in half and shoved it in my mailbox. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? So, anyways,
Did you have it? I suppose they had it insured or whatever, or
yeah, I can't remember. This
oh,
was
good
going
lord.
back a good 15 years ago now.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, since I've moved out here to Phoenix, it's like, when I buy stuff online now, I got to wait till it's cool outside, or else I'm gonna
Yeah.
end up with
See, that's what I love
warped.
about winter time here is I can shop and you don't worry about where you go first. Well, I'm getting
Yeah,
frozen stuff, so I gotta, you know,
exactly.
when it's winter
I
time,
don't have to
I
worry
love
about my ice cream melting.
that. I don't have to worry about. I can just eat the ice cream in the
Yeah,
car.
yeah,
Not even worry about it. Not even worry about it. But yeah, that's. I'm so glad you mentioned that because that was a weird thing with A&M Records. I'm like, how'd they ever let him do that?
yeah.
I mean, these hit songs. You've got this next album that's very much the same,
Mhm.
in its brilliance, even in the great songs. And then all of a sudden, whoop, here's a couple of swing records, and
Yeah.
now we're back to the hits. So it's just crazy.
I'm gonna have to look for that one. I'll
Yeah, yeah, beat
get one.
crazy. Um, I wanted to. Okay, this is a big one. So you're, and this is a jump off the track. So you're ready.
Okay.
So your ancestry is back to Germany, right?
Yeah.
For the main thing. And how do you pronounce your last name? Your
Um, Hagelgans or Hagelgans if you're from Germany,
there
but
you go.
we were actually my family originated out of Germany, and they migrated to Russia in
Hmm,
the late 1700s,
okay.
and so they were there for, I don't know, probably 100 years or so.
Mhm.
My great grandfather came over here from Russia. Um, Let me think, 1903 or
Okay.
so. And then on my mother's side, it's the same deal. They came out of actually out of Ukraine, but they're
Mm,
also Germans, and so they kept their heritage, they language and foods and everything, and they were brought in to work the land in Russia,
wow.
and so they call them Volga Germans, via the Volga
Yes.
River. So they went up the Volga and into Russia, and they were given free land to work the land, just so they'd have more people living in Russia. And so my on my mom's side, my grandfather came over right before the Russian Revolution, the communist takeover. So he came over here in 1917, And then on my dad's side, my great grandfather came over with my grandfather, who was also born in Russia, um, around 1903 or oh
Okay.
seven, somewhere around there. But
Yeah.
at
Huh.
any rate, they settled in Portland, Oregon, in a German community, and everybody spoke German. My great grandfather, my grandfather, and my dad were all pastors. So my great grandfather started a church, the Second German Congregational Church in Portland, Oregon, on the corner of 8th and Skidmore. So I know all the history. So I know exactly where it is. The church is still there. It
Wow.
was built in well, the original building was in 1913, and then in the early 30s, they put up the building that's there now. But
Yeah.
at any rate, they spoke German, held the services in German. My great grandfather, my grandparents lived right next door to the church, and they built a church parsonage, and
Wow.
so um, this German community until World War II. Then they started changing everything over into English. But I remember my parents they spoke English, but they also spoke German. And then my on my mom's side, my grandparents barely spoke English. They broken English, so they still spoke in German. But yeah, so
Man.
another guy that I found out recently, I think he just passed away, is Randy Meisner
Yeah.
from the Eagles.
Yeah.
He is also his lineage was Volga Germans from Russia. So
Wow. That's wild.
yeah.
Oh man, and his part of the Eagle story is always interesting to me because have you seen their big long
The
history
documentary.
movie that they did?
I may have seen. I don't remember.
The one thing I felt for him when he talked about how some nights I came out and I'm like, we can't do one of these nights, right? One of these
Hmm.
nights, because he goes, he'd tell them we can't do that tonight. I don't have that note at the end. And they're like, well, we have to play it
Oh, and he couldn't sing it. Sorry, I
because
gotta
he has that,
go to right.
that big, huge note at
Right,
the end. And he's
right.
like, oh, I'm telling you, I can't do it tonight.
Yeah,
And he's like, it came down to some big fights about that because of that. Well, that's interesting. Same
yeah.
backgrounds on that. Wow, that's
Yeah, I found that out. I was doing some research on my German lineage, and
yeah.
there's a website somewhere that talks about famous people that are Germans from Russia, Volga Germans, and his
Wow.
name popped up. So I sent off an email to his fan site or something, hoping that they could give him a message,
Mm-hmm.
but never did.
Oh, wow. Well, now I kind of walked us through that a little bit because I wanted to step into what seems to be your favorite kind of food is Mexican food.
Yeah, well, I like all kinds, but I mean,
Sure, but
living
I see a
here,
lot of posts about it.
yeah, living here in Arizona, we have some really good Mexican food. Um, well, I love probably my second favorite, or may even be my first favorite. Excuse me, voice is going. Is Indian. I love Indian food.
Yes.
Um, some people think it looks like a wet diaper.
I know, right?
Yeah, you look at the sauce, it's like,
But
who
doggone,
wants to
it's
eat that?
good.
But it's like, oh my gosh, you put something over rice, and it's just and
Yes.
the naan bread, and
The naan
uh,
bread.
so
I
I love Indian food. I love Mexican food. I love Japanese. Boy, and not so much sushi as much as I love ramen, uh,
mm.
tonkatsu. So
Now, in liking those, do you do a lot of cooking at home?
I don't. We used to. There we don't really do a lot of cooking anymore, which is kind of weird. We just kind of like we throw something together last minute. But there was a point where it was like every night we were planning a meal, and
Mhm.
it's just me and Brandy right now, and
Yeah.
her daughter comes and goes. She lives with us also, but
Oh,
she doesn't
cool.
always eat here. So
Right.
um,
Right.
at any rate, yeah, we do. We'll usually order out, or we'll just plan something that, once a week and then eat the leftovers. So
Right. Right.
nothing big.
How's Brandy doing?
She's good.
Good.
Doing really good.
We had a chance. Not everybody probably knows this. I was there at a show that Brandy attended. And so then you guys were chatting. But the funny part just comes in before any of all of that, where it was a crazy, what they would call in the movie Dr. Horrible, they would call a crazy random happenstance. So,
yeah,
and because that place where you guys played,
right? Oh my gosh!
Oh dear Lord, it was over in Kansas City, and I pulled up to this place, and I'm like, they are not playing here. I must be at the wrong place.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we thought the same thing.
Oh dear Lord, I didn't know if it was going to come down on us.
But well, there was a hole in the stage. I don't know if I told you this before. Right where I stand, so my microphone would be here, and then right where I would be standing in front of the microphone, there was a big hole in the stage, but it was covered with carpet. So you had to watch out for this hole, or you'd step in and the carpet would go down and pull everything with it. Yeah, that was a pretty divey biker bar.
Yeah, it was. Oh, good Lord. I don't know. I don't know what I noticed first about it. It's such a strange. It was such a strange situation. But yeah, Brandy was there as the woman who had given me my ticket said, hey, there's going to be a couple of women that are going to be there that I've never met, but I know them through Facebook. And I just had this idea. I thought one of them, they were both very, very beautiful women. It just hit me though. I was just like, gonna be this beautiful woman who is like this 80s hair metal fan. And sure enough, I get there and there she is, as we told her, as her friend, knew as well. You're like, I think my friend said, you're like a Breck girl. I was like, yeah, it's kind of true. And we got inside and she's like, I want to go up front. So I was like, all right. So I took her by the hand and walked her up front. And then there we were. And the furthest we could get in was like right in front of you. So it was like, it was really crazy to be there and experience that and have so much fun. And
I would say that you were the one who kind of introduced us.
To a
in that sense, but the funny thing was, because of that, I remember you bringing her up towards the front of the stage, and I thought you might have been her boyfriend or her husband, or it's like, and it wasn't until way later on that her and I were talking and stuff.
I just thought
relationship.
Yes. No, I didn't even know her. It was so weird. Nope, I don't know him. But but we just met there, and she was so nice, and we just were chatting. And her friend was outstanding to talk to as well. She's a guitar player. Her friend.
That's right.
And
Karen.
Karen. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just a charming woman, and she was great. I talked to her a lot that night. And just talked about music, playing music, and but yeah, being right up there. What was really weird was too, we walked in and we got so far, and then I went back. Oh crap, I left my phone. So I'm like, I got to go back so I can take pictures. So I go back and get it. And these guys let me right back in next to her. I'm like, they probably are thinking the same.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, if you're with her, let him in. I don't know what he's done, but he must be a outstanding dude.
Well, that was the show that almost didn't happen because everything went wrong that day. And the reason why we stayed was because we couldn't leave. The bus had broken down in the parking lot.
That's right.
So the poor bus driver, we pulled in, something happened with the axle or the transmission. I can't remember what, but he had the whole thing apart in the parking lot trying to rebuild it while we were trying to get in there and do our thing. And it was such a dive bar, they were threatening the crew. Nothing was set up right. There was no PA, and everything was just not what it was supposed to be on the, from our rider. We required a certain amount of PA and lights and whatever, and nothing was there. And so in our contract, we could have, and we were trying to, except our bus was busted down, and we were trying to leave. We were trying to get out because we didn't have to. They didn't meet our requirements, so we could have left and rebooked somewhere else, at a later date. But
Yeah.
point is, we couldn't leave. We were stuck there,
So is
and
this
they were
a nice
threatening.
place?
They
Is this
were
a
threatening us, our crew guys. It
God,
was like
like what were they do? Like what?
just I can't
Oh,
remember everything, but it was like, everybody was afraid not
just
to,
being
our crew
threatening.
guys are not, not to make these guys upset because, they're it was a biker thing. And it was like,
Right.
and there was other weird things going on out the front. I mean, I remember sitting on the bus that day and it was like, uh, what I was thinking, what looked like prostitution going on out in the, out the front door of the place, and it was like, okay, so just a weird, bad location and
Yeah.
bad place to be. But
But you
we stayed. So the reason why we ended up doing it, and we stayed because we had the meet and greet where
yeah.
people come in and we shake everybody's hands, take pictures and stuff, sign autographs, and
Yeah.
so that was scheduled for something like 5 o'clock in the afternoon,
You're absolutely right.
and so we stayed for that, and then we ended up playing the show after all. But um, yeah, otherwise we probably wouldn't have been there because early on we would have left early.
This is a good
So,
place to insert the line, everything happens for a reason,
yeah, yeah,
you know? And so it's in knowing what came of it, it was like, that's everything happens for a reason. So,
yeah,
and it was a great show. I mean, you guys did a great show. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
You guys, it was great to see it and be there as always. And then I guess the other time that I saw you after that was in Peoria and then here in St. Louis as well. You
Right.
guys-
So yeah, that
yeah,
wasn't much. Maybe a year later.
yeah. And how weird was that one though? I mean, I don't want to talk a lot about this because it's just, but I mean, here we are singing along to these two very talented women who opened the show for you here in St. Louis, and we're singing 9 to 5 with these two brilliant performers before a
You
Striper
got to
show.
refresh my memory because I don't remember. I
They
don't know
were
where you're.
from Nashville.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was two women.
There was two. Yeah. Wait, I don't remember though. I
Yeah,
can't
they
for the life
played
of me.
9 to 5, and we're all singing. I go, I don't know. They're good. They're great. I'm enjoying this, and I love that song. I love the movie.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But I'm like, I still feel weird singing 9 to 5. We're gonna be watching Striper, so
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But they were charming as hell, and they were just so it just fit fine. It was good. I was like, they
Right.
sound great. I don't, it doesn't bother me, but it's just strange.
Yeah.
It was just weird. But anyway,
Yeah.
uh,
It was so long ago now. I mean,
yeah,
it's been 7 years. Has it
yeah,
been 7? Yeah, 7 or
yeah,
maybe 8. So yeah, it's been a while.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap up here. I don't want to keep you too much longer.
Yeah,
How's
what time do
everything
we
with the
got?
electronics? You still digging the electronic stuff? You working with the
Yeah, I'm still doing, well, I'm doing ham radio as
ham radios?
I'm a geek, a radio geek, and, um, you know, I still get out there and play with it, not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Um, but, we're looking to get out of the place we're living in right now, so we're looking for a new house to move into, and
Cool.
so I think once all that is settled, I'm gonna be tearing things apart, my room here, I gotta start tearing things apart here,
Yeah.
and so, first of the year, maybe February, we hope to have a new house, and, I'll be able to set all my things back up, all my toys.
Well, let me know when moving day is. I'll fly
51
out.
years old, and I still play with toys, so
Yes, well, don't we all? I mean, I'm, Funko Pops, dude.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's, you know,
I have
it's
a friend of mine down here that sells those. He has a record store and he sells those here.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, I get certain ones, and sometimes it's tough to say no, but I do. I did the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, no, don't do anymore. Not
Yeah,
right
when you start collecting things, yeah, well, when you run out of room, that's the big thing is like,
Yeah.
where am I gonna put this? And then
Yeah.
your wife is like going, when are you gonna get rid of some junk?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
time to move some stuff out of here.
Yeah, it gets crazy. Especially when if you take a trip over to Europe and you're hanging out with your friends there, and they have such a there's a certain minimalistic thing in
Yeah,
certain countries, and you're like, I really like this,
yeah,
not a bunch of stuff, But then you get back to your stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, oh
yeah.
I could get what? Like,
Need to
stop
get a
it.
bigger house so I can put more stuff. I think that was a George Carlin thing.
There is
Place for my stuff. Yeah, that
place
was
for my stuff.
yeah,
19 well, I don't that was like 1983 or something like that, or
yeah, that was about
back
that
in the
time.
back in the day. So then, so what's the next last thing? What's coming up next for you? Just kind of getting ready to with the move and things like that.
Yeah,
Music,
we're getting ready to start moving and getting in that frame of mind right now. Christmas is coming up, and then
mhm,
of
mhm.
course I'm my next thing is getting back into getting the studio going and recording again, and so just doing that.
Is
I'm
that something you have
still
to factor in too? Will you be trying to find a place where you can have a studio situation?
well, yeah, it'll be we need a house with the right amount of space to be able
Mhm.
to set stuff up. I don't need much. I mean, I don't even need a room like this. I could use headphones for all. I got a laptop in front of me, which
Right.
is like easy to record with too. But
Yeah.
I don't need a lot of space, and I don't need a lot of room because I'm not running a large studio. We're not
Mhm.
tracking a lot of different instruments at the same time. So
Right.
everything I do, like I said, is direct. So I just plug right in and go. And so between that and my other hobbies like radio, playing with radio, we'll probably scale down a little bit as far
Mhm.
as stuff goes. I'm getting up in age. My
Yeah.
wife's my wife's younger than me, but
Mhm.
it's like, once I'm out of here, she's got to put up with all this stuff. Where's she gonna, you know,
Should
and
we
I
what
dread
do
the
I do
thought
with
of
this
her
now?
having to, like, sell my stuff. It's like, if I'm out of here and she's gotta move, she'll probably trash it because it doesn't mean anything to her, but,
Well, I've thought
my
about that.
guitars, it's like, no,
Yeah. Just, make sure she's got my address,
Yeah.
and, I'll help. I'll just take care of it.
Yeah.
Now there's one thing before I do let you go. My goodness, how can I let it go without talking about this? So, you were telling me about the blessing of your ministry stuff that you're working with, and the church that you were working with.
Sure. I'm still, I'm kind of I'm not with the church that I was at,
Okay.
over this last year. That came to an end recently, but I am still doing ministry. I'm going to start. I consider myself like a pastor teacher. I'm a Bible teacher, and my specialty, if you will, in ministry is eschatology, which is a study of the end times. Uh, so Bible prophecy and things that were written 2,000 years ago are coming to light, as
Mhm.
we speak today, and the way the world is and so on and so forth. So I
Yeah.
apply a lot of Bible prophecy and the things that were prophesied back in the day, to where
Yeah.
we are today in the last day. So, anyways, that's what I do. I teach online. This last year, I've taught through the Book of Revelation, and then also through the Book of Daniel. And then coming this January, I'm going to start up again in some of the other prophetic books. I'll probably start in First and Second Thessalonians and work my way around. There's a lot of Bible prophecy, throughout the
Yeah.
whole Bible. It's not just like stuff that happened, 4,000 years ago. It's like, it's real stuff that's coming to light even today. We have a third of the Bible is prophetic. And people
Mhm.
don't know about that. And out of that, there's still, a good 15, 16, maybe up to 20% of that is still to be fulfilled. So, um, it's something I've been into. When I started going back to church in 1983, the pastor was teaching out of the book of Revelation, which is like, for me, it was a light bulb moment because everything just kind of made sense at that point. And so a lot of people don't get it. Some people do. And so that's, for me and for Brandy also, we've just been, especially the last 3 or 4 years now since the COVID thing happened, I can even say that if this is going to be saved to YouTube or something, there's certain keywords you can't say anymore, like the C word, it's like they pull your video or. So anyways, you got to watch what you're saying.
I guess. Wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, but
I don't even want to concern myself. Yeah.
But it's, recently in the last 3 or 4 years, it's really a lot of things have come to light, and we've just, both of us have grown in this direction,
That's
Bible
cool.
prophecy.
That's cool. Yeah. Cause it's one of those things where you started to see, there's a confusion, but then when you put it together, it's interesting how much clearer the vision is of, oh, interesting. It's kind of like if you have a positive mindset and know that things happen for a reason. If you get to a point, if you stay open-minded to that, when those answers come, you see them much easier.
Well, yeah. I mean, one of the big things that point to us being in the end times, or close to the end times, the Bible prophesied that Israel would be back in the land in a day. They would be reborn as a nation, and that happened in May 14th, 1948, when Israel suddenly became a nation again after being out of or not being a land for or a nation for about 1900 years. And so the Bible talks about how God will start pulling the people out from the different nations where they've been driven. And so we've seen an increase, starting in the late 1800s up through 1948, when the nation was reborn again. And so a lot of Bible prophecy stems on, in fact, I'd say pretty much all of Bible prophecy stems on what's going on in Israel today. And it's stems on the nation of Israel in itself. Things that were prophesied, how they're going to be surrounded by all the nations and attacking them. So a lot of the stuff that we're seeing happening right now is in preparation, or things have been prepared for to see that, what am I trying to say? Israel, in that sense, being attacked by the surrounding nations, that's been prophesied. And there will be other battles and greater devastation that comes, that's been prophesied. But we're seeing all this stuff culminating.
That's what I was thinking.
And so, the Bible talks about in Matthew 24, the things that will be happening prior to Jesus' return. And talks about, first thing he says is, see that no one deceives you. So that's like one of the things that's going to be happening in the last days is major deception. And we see that all around us. You can't trust anybody. You turn on the TV, they're, all the talking heads are lying to you. The government lies to you. Talks about wars and rumors of wars, and when a nation's rising against nation, and the word nation in the Bible, in Greek, the original Greek language is ethnos, which stands for ethnicity, which we get the word ethnic from. So there's going to be ethnic battles, for instance, Arab against Jew. We see white against black, we see all this stuff happening in the last days. So we see an increase in that. Wars, it talks about wars, which we've had regional wars for 2,000 years, but we've never had world wars until 1917. So when all these things, it talks about earthquakes in diverse places, we've seen increase in earthquakes, volcanic activity, just so on and so forth. It talks pestilences and all this stuff that's going on today that hasn't, people mock it and say, well, we've always had wars. Well, that's true, but we haven't had all this stuff converging all at once.
Right.
And all this stuff is converged mainly since Israel's been back in the land. We've seen a convergence in the last 100 or so years of these things. The industrial revolution, the knowledge has increased, and with that, we're getting ready to see the next. Not the industrial revolution, but this whole new world order, that there will be a one world government coming. There will be a leader that takes over everything, and we've seen precursors to that with COVID, possibly, where we see how easily we surrender our rights, in order to be, saved from, a disease, or, um, wearing a face diaper in order to protect yourself from something that, we perceive as worse than it really is, and manufactured crises and stuff. So there's going to come a time where the whole world is going to surrender their sovereignty to a single person, and that person, what the Bible is known as the Antichrist, or the beast. So we see all these things happening, and so we know that, biblically, that the way everything is happening now, we know that biblically it's on its way.
Yeah,
we're closer than ever before.
That's just, yeah, it's wild to think. And a lot of people, there's all kinds of views about it, and it has to be a tough one to talk about.
It is. It's very. I mean, I'm sure I'll probably just ruffle a lot of people's feathers by what I've said so far, but I mean, it's there. People do have, within the Christian community, there's different views,
right?
And, there's mocking, from the religious lefts, or the Christian left groups, versus the Christian right group. So you have all this inner, what do you call it? Turmoil.
Like it. Yeah. Which it just never makes sense to me, because I've always been like, so oftentimes I would think about, I was just talking about this the other day, about, theologians and, people who know a lot more about the words, have read all the words and pored over the words multiple times, who will debate all day long. And I'm like, maybe, have you checked on your neighbor lately?
Yeah.
Remember what our main mission here is, is to help each other and to make it through. And maybe you should go check on them,
Yeah. I mean, the Bible says if we have all these things, if we can prophesy, or we can speak in tongues or whatever, but we don't have love, then we don't have anything. We're like a clanging bell. And it's like,
yes,
that's where a lot of Christianity is today. There's a lot of things going on, but there's no love. There's not the love of Christ in a lot of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of deception within the church. There's people that are being deceived within the body of Christ, that are, going to the mega churches, and they're not being taught the true word of God. They're being taught feel good sermons that, because they have itchy ears, because they want to feel good about themselves, or, so the true gospel in a lot of cases isn't being taught.
Yeah.
And the Bible talks about that too in the last days. People have itchy ears, and they'll raise up for themselves these people that teach deception. So,
and I think one of the toughest parts too, especially in this country, is just to be able to hope that people adhere to it and have a mind of their own, instead of, the reason that you want to talk about this is because you care about them. However, in the same breath, it seems like they think, there's a certain factions that can think that you're like trying to tell them what to do. And you're like, no. I'm giving you information so that you can make the call.
Yeah. Decide for
yourself. Check it out yourself and see if you're noticing any of these things. If you don't notice it, okay, I'm not here to jam it down your throat and tell you that's how it is and you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just here to
presenting information, and it's up to each one of us to
and we can do that peacefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
But something we all, as individuals, we can make those calls and make those choices. It's kind of, also when you mentioned the big deals and some of those, it always gets me when you're on either side of the fence. You're like, well, you have to do it this way. And then
Yeah.
at the same breath, but it's an individual thing. You all experience it differently. Okay, now wait a minute. Which one is it? Do we all do it the same, or is it individual? It's good because it seems
Yeah.
like a
Well,
lot of
there's one truth. So a lot of people today want to, make up their own truth. There's one truth, and that's, for each
right,
one of us to decide on, where we want to go with that. But, the
absolutely.
Bible presents one way. The Bible is very clear on, how to get into heaven, is by believing in Jesus Christ as your Savior, and the free gift of salvation that He has given to us by taking our place. As far as we all deserve punishment for sin. Well, some people say that I'm not a sinner. Well, have you ever told a lie? If
Right,
you're living up to the law, the 10 commandments, if you break one of them, then you've basically broken them all.
right.
Um, and so in that case, we're all guilty and we fall short of the glory of God. But it was Christ, the simplest verse in the Bible is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only, excuse me, his only begotten son, that whosoever believes, and that's the key word, is believe in him.
Mhm.
It's not like believe and, give money to the church or do good.
Right.
I'm going to help an old lady across the street. Well, see, I did, it's not your works.
Yeah, right, right.
Whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So, and that's all you need to do is believe by faith that Christ was the sacrificial lamb for our sin. He took the sin of the world upon himself. He died. He spilled his blood for in our stead. And then to prove that he conquers death, he rose again on the third day, just like he said. And he was, witnessed by hundreds, if
Yeah,
not thousands of people after he rose from the dead.
mhm,
So we
yeah.
put our faith and trust in Christ. There's nothing I can do to save myself, but,
Nope,
there's,
nope. Yeah,
there's Jesus. And
yeah.
so,
I think that's a great place to. Why would we ever want to leave it? Try to do something else after that. That's it.
yeah,
Will I hang tight with me for a second?
yeah.
Thank you, Timothy. That was great. I'm serious. That was a great
All right,
ending.
brother. Awesome.
I think the next time we get together, we're going to have a vinyl discussion
Yeah, that'll
so
be
that you
awesome.
have a chance to pull some vinyl, and then
I'll
we'll
have to
do.
move into the next room because I have all my shelves like you. And so, yeah,
These are
that'll
old
be awesome.
speaker cabinets that I made into
Oh, are
shelves.
they really? Wow.
Yeah, these were years ago. There was a gentleman who said he had all of this equipment, lights and speakers and sound equipment, and he said he goes, you know what? He goes, I want to get rid of all this stuff. If you do a couple of these convention shows with me, I'll just give it all to you because I don't want. Back in the day, it was what was the place to sell stuff? Craigslist.
Oh, Craigslist. Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to put it on there because I know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Somebody's going to buy this and that, and I'll be stuck with all this little
With the
crap.
rest. Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
goes, but if you do these two shows for me, I will just give it all to you. 2 pallets full of stuff.
Wow. That's awesome.
And these were big speaker cabinets. This one here, it's very tall. I can show you this one. You can see the whole thing. So there's a big cabinet and then a small cabinet.
Oh, wow.
These
Yeah.
were speakers. So they were old and the speakers were dried. They weren't in good shape.
Yeah.
So I just gutted them and then just left the old covering on them, painted the inside, put shelves in them, and boom.
Awesome.
And put
It
wheels
looks
on the
great.
bottom. Wheels are the best thing.
Oh, yeah.
Best thing ever.
Yeah. I got to do that with mine. I
So,
intended to do that. And then
yeah.
I just went to Walmart and got those square,
Yep.
each one of those 4 things is like a square, and it holds about the same amount of albums as your.
Yeah.
So we probably have close to the same amount, although
Could
I have
be.
a bunch of CDs also,
Could
which I'm
be.
sure you do.
Yeah, I finally logged all of my vinyl too. I have it on a spreadsheet
Awesome.
and everything. So, and I started getting a couple of things that had disappeared. We can talk about that next time when we get together. And so maybe we'll do that in the new year. We'll see how everything's going. And I'm
Yeah.
serious. If you need some help moving, give me a call. I'll fly out there and say hello and
All
help
right.
move.
Appreciate that.
It's what my family does. That's what
All right, bro. Well, you helped us last time too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. We're still in. We're still in.
Yeah.
And before we go, Nocturnal Miss So stopped in. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
And Crimson Cross, another big fan.
Good to see you.
Listen to Striper back in the 80s and 90s. See, right there in that sweet spot.
Awesome.
And thank you, Lance. That's my buddy Lance. We'll see him again tonight. Keep watching. We'll be back at 7:00 with the Go Game Go show, me and Jeff. And then we'll see Lance there. Do like and subscribe if you love what you're seeing. I love doing this, and I love talking with the gentlemen like Tim and awesome. Also I haven't had many women on the show yet. I had my good buddy Claudia. She's very talented here in town. And Katie Cruz is going to be back on with me too. She's an on-air personality from here in St. Louis. So awesome. It's always great being here. It's always great seeing you, my friend.
Hey, you too, brother.
Always fantastic. Awesome, so let me get this going. Everybody take care. Next week, we're going to be talking with my buddy Mike from out in LA, Mike Floros with Steel City, and a great band. Check out Steel City in the meantime, people. They got a couple albums out there. And Fortress and Mach 2. So check them both out. Really, really, really cool stuff. And I'm going to start doing this. And check it out. Get ready for it. So keep an eye out for it, and you'll see what's coming. Take it easy. Tim, thank you very much. Guys. I'll see you in the green room here, and everybody else. We'll see you tonight and this next week.
All right.